So the other thing I wanted to talk about that I think you mentioned, Dave, in one of your comments was the Renters' Bill of Rights. So this was very interesting. I was reading about this in depth over the weekend. So the federal government's proposed measures. I'm going to read this from an article to make sure I'm reading it correctly, but we can discuss it afterwards. The federal budget's proposed measure to protect renters from low vacancy rates, high prices, and other significant challenges might be enough, according to some housing experts. So it says earlier this week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said the upcoming federal budget would introduce protections specifically geared towards younger renters. The Renters' Bill of Rights would include a national standard lease agreement, as you mentioned, and require landlords to disclose a unit's pricing history to allow tenants to negotiate their rent. The government, this is the best part, the government would also create a $15 million fund for provincial legal aid organizations to help tenants fight landlord abuse and rent evictions when a landlord evicts a tenant by saying they need to do significant renovations. The Liberals are also proposing to change federal rules so that making rental payments on time will count towards someone's credit scores.
That's a great idea. I think that's like the best idea out of all of it.
So, it could be done now. Like a landlord, and there are some property management companies that do that? Register it that will add it on your credit bureau, but it goes both ways as well. So those young renters that maybe don't think or realize that their Rogers Bell Fido bill impact their credit and registered, and they don't then think that maybe their rental payment is going to impact their credit. Like they could be very good and diligent in making it on time, but it's also going to impact them when they make it a day late or 2 days late. That's going to be a hit on their credit. And a lot of people using e-transfer these days, things like that. It's not automated payments. Like that's going to then impact their credit score on a negative manner. I do agree with you, Greg. I think it is good. It's just I think people need to be aware and educated on it.
Also, the fund, like allocating money from the budget to basically sue another class of citizens seems insane. No?
I mean, I would like to know what the number of rent eviction are. Like that's really like a very small subset. And it's a really lengthy process to even give notice of that. And really even after the renovation, they have to hold that unit available for that tenant at the same price technically as what they had before. Yeah. So, there is stuff in place for them to go. The problem with any of this, whether it be like landlord, the number of people I talk to that have rental units that they have like druggy tenants that are like literally with like they'll leave their needles everywhere. There's damage and creating nuisance for other neighbors. Some even just roaming around naked in the building on a regular basis. I was talking to a friend yesterday who was dealing with that, which is kind of hilarious. They can't get these tenants
Dave,
out.
I told you not to tell anyone about my habits.
They can't get the tenants out. They can go and not pay for a ridiculous amount of time, and an appointment can't be made at the landlord and tenant board on the other side to get these tenants out. And so there needs to be really, at the end of the day, any of these funds, it should really go to adding more mediators and more judges to the landlord and tenant board to speed up the process. The fact that it takes 6 and 9 months and a year to have an appointment for a tenant, for a landlord, both sides of the spectrum, because when there's issues and a tenant stops paying and doesn't pay for 9 months, it snowballs. Like that landlord now is defaulting on their mortgage or having issues or is maybe now not as inclined to get a rental, which then helps the rental supply market or get into building units. So they really need to address that to have more people there, to put more money into getting like an aid worker, legal aid to fight the landlord. Well, if you can't even get a friggin' appointment at the landlord and tenant board, what good is that going to be anyways?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging, and everything going on in the U.S. too with the squatters' rights and whatnot. Like I've been watching a little bit about that. It's just bananas, where people will just scour the internet in the city, try to find a nice place online that has the address, and then they find the address, they just get in there, and then once they're in, like getting them out of there is like a nightmare. Like you can't, like the rights for the squatters is like more than the owner of the property.
Yeah. And do you think the transparency of the rent history, like the rental price history, do you think that's beneficial, or do you think that's kind of insignificant?
I think it becomes, I don't think it's like going to do anything.
No, I mean, really,
at the end of the day, it's supply and demand. It's like, cool, I charge $2,000 3 years ago, and now I'm charging $22.50. Well, my property taxes also jumped up. If you're in Toronto, they're jumping up double digits this year. So yeah, they're gonna have to raise rents. So
also, someone says I want to pay $2,000. Be like, okay, well, great. Well, I got another tenant who's paying $22.50.
Exactly.
So.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's what one person gets upset, and there's another 10 standing behind them saying like, well, I'll pay. Will you take me?
Yeah. Like, I mean, transparency, I think, in anything is a good thing, but I don't think it's going to like change anything, so to speak, because they could have updated the unit as well. Like, is that, what's planned into that? Somebody's bringing up like, oh, you raised rents. Well, yeah, my mortgage went up 70%.
Yeah.
Oh, like
imagine auctions for rentals, like a platform like Unreserved. All like, yeah, the property's worth like $3,000. It's like bidding starts at $1,000 a month. See where that goes.
Well, and then the business model will change after 6 months, and that won't be there anymore. Like Unreserved model. Yeah. But no, I think for renters as a whole, like as a high level summary, I do want to see more of what comes out in that Bill of Rights. I think they're not going to nationalize a lease. That's not going to happen. I think they need to get more money, like I said, into the landlord and tenant boards in all provinces, invest there. I think more rights for tenants as well as for landlords. It needs to be an even playing field, and that parlays into affordable housing as well. But yeah, we'll kind of see how things come to fruition over the next couple of weeks.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.